we are doing this for the first time, and we're going to do one of these every month with the idea, this year we're starting with the idea that we get more engagement of our members. We get to see each other face to face. We know who we are. We also learn new things, which is always good, and we learn from our mistakes. And we train and refine our procedures as well as our equipment, because I'm sure as we actually use this stuff as intended, we will figure out that there are improvements that can be made. We have a whole bunch of these things planned. Not all of them can be done, but we will get your feedback on which ones might be most useful. So I'm not going to go through these here, but just to keep in mind, we'll probably discuss on Slack which ones are next. So for January, we have this Zoom meeting. For February, we have the actual exercise. And then for March, we'll determine what's next. I will also say, in case people do not realize, we have a CERT training coming up starting February 4. It's the usual training that you went through, but if you have people in your neighborhood or other people in your family or friends that might benefit from CERT training, do go on Slack and find the training details there, or ask Cam questions because she's running the training. And on this Saturday, we have our regular first Saturday of the month trailer day from 10 to noon. That was the end of the announcements. All right, I think we can start. Mark, will you admit any other people that come into the room? I'm sorry for having the room. I didn't even realize that was a thing.
Yeah, I'm watching it.
Okay, very good. Okay, so we're going to try to keep this short, 1 hour. And actually, Mark and I will only talk for 40 minutes or so we have some time for questions and figuring out what actually to do. But we'll talk about activation and then ICP setup. Those are the two main topics. So let's start with activation. I'll hand it over to Mark because he will actually initiate that.
Okay, thanks, Robert. While I'm talking, maybe you can monitor the waiting room.
Copy.
So when we talk about activation, we want to talk about why we activate and why it's important that we don't self-deploy. We talk about this in the CERT training, but it's important to mention it here again. And that's that even though you have a CERT badge and you have a CERT vest and helmet, you don't show up and put that on and just become a CERT member on your own. You always need to be activated officially before you can put on your CERT vest and become a CERT member. And the benefit to you is that when you're properly activated, then you get the benefits of the disaster service worker protections. So that includes limited immunity and workers' compensation if you were injured. So the key here is that you always wait to be officially activated, and then you always work within the scope of your training and you're supervised. And as you know, the structure that we use, the Incident Command System ICS structure, always has an incident commander and a level of supervision that occurs naturally within that organization structure. So as long as we do what we've practiced and been trained to do, then we will be properly covered under the disaster service worker protections. Another thing I'll mention that's important is if you are activated and we ask you to go and stage at a location like Portola Valley Town Center or wherever it may be, please do not go drive quickly down there or run stop signs or do stupid things, because we are not emergency services personnel. We do not have the authority to drive fast. We do not have the authority to do anything like that. So you need to drive carefully and use your due diligence in being safe when you go down to staging. So just keep that in mind. There is one special case where you can activate, and that is in our SOP, Standard Operating Procedures, which I forgot to mention. I would hope everybody has read. If you haven't, they're on our website, and you can read them. You did sign them to get your badge. So, run through it, make sure you understand them. But one of those things is the standing order activation, which is the special case where you don't need to receive official word that we've been activated. And that is the text of the SOP is here in this slide. Essentially, it says if a large-scale earthquake occurs, very strong shaking for 20 seconds or longer, or when a major incident has occurred where it can be reasonably expected that CERT would be activated, but regular communication methods are not available, then you can go ahead and check on yourselves and your family, and if you're able and willing, report to the staging or command post location. And for now, our default location would be the Portola Valley Town Center. So that's a scenario where, let's say that all the communication systems are down, which is very unlikely, but if that were to happen, then you can go ahead and assume that you've been activated and you can proceed down to the command post staging location at PV Town Center. Once you get there, you need to sign in. And of course, all CERT participation is voluntary. So just because you receive an activation notice, it's not an obligation. It's just a polite request. You'll hear us use the term IMT, or Incident Management Team. The Incident Management Team members are CERT leadership members who have been authorized to activate and supervise official CERT activations. And incident management team members may assume leadership roles such as the incident commander or other positions upon their arrival at the command post. We'll talk a little bit more about that, but remember that the first CERT member on scene is the incident commander until someone else assumes that role. So you may be the incident commander, but that role may be assumed by an incident management team member upon their arrival. Or not. If you're doing a good job, they'll just let you keep doing it. As of right now, we've got 6 IMT members. That's myself, Cam McCowan, Chris Papka, Craig Taylor, Chip Swan, and Robert Seidel. So if you're interested in joining our incident management team, we would love to have you. You do need to complete additional training requirements, and we're happy to talk to you about that if that's something you're interested in. Oh, and on that graphic there, you can see that you'll see that on the badge, we have 2 different little flags that you will see on badges of instructors. That's the orange instructor label and then the blue IMT label. So those are 2 things you might see on badges that are not on regular badges. So how will you know when you're activated? Well, the typical way we would do it is through SMC Alert, meaning you will get a text message on your phone, you will get an email, and it will be a request. It'll say WPV-CERT activation. It will list some basic details about what we want and where to go. So we will say, WPV-CERT has been activated, stage at Portola Valley Town Center. If for some reason we can't use regular methods, communications are down, then we would also announce this over the radio, WD1, PV1. So we really do want people to turn on their radio because that really is the backup method of communication. So an incident management team member may come on the radio and just say, you know, attention everybody, we've been activated, please stage at the horse park or wherever it may be. So the radio is really a key way of understanding what's going on in real time. But if we can, we'll certainly send it out via SMC Alert, text messaging, and email.
And I guess I'll just point out at this point again that because we're also testing the SMC Alert system that we use, it's called Rave in the background, and it has like special groups and everything. We do want to make sure that the people that can come to the exercise, we know who they are, so we can put them in a group, and those people will get the alert, and not everybody, because then we get a potential mix-up. So again, if you could fill in that form that's linked on the notice for this meeting, that would be great. And I'll make sure that Mark gets those. All right, very good. Let's see, make sure that before the exercise, you have these things ready. Obviously, some of that should be ready anyway, but in particular, make sure that you have your radio and a charged battery, maybe a spare, that'd be great. Because the exercise is scheduled at 5 p.m. and it'll go until 6:30 p.m., it's by design that we do it at dusk because it'll be a little bit more challenging. Bring your headlamp, make sure your headlamp has a battery that works. Please also bring non-slip shoes. We're going to go in and out of trailers on ramps, so we don't want you to trip or slide. And Mark added here, make sure your snacks and water are active. So, because for 1.5 hours, you will be out of touch with your refrigerator. So this is just a test. And bring your badge. Okay, we could be activated to any command post, but we have a few that we are likely going to go to, and our default one will be the Portola Valley Town Center, and I've put an arrow here so you see where that is. In particular, a room called the Buckeye Room is going to be our incident command post room, and the one next to it is going to be a staging room. We'll talk about that later. But so that's the PV Town Center, that's the actual building. This time we're going to activate our command post at the trailers, which is the other arrow here. I'll get into more detail in that in a moment. We have other potential areas. Let's say we need to have our command post in Woodside, then we could do it at the Woodside trailer, which is at the Woodside Horse Park. You see Sandhill Road here off 280. The entrance is off Sandhill Road, and our trailer is where that arrow points. There will be, if we say we meet at the horse park, then we will make sure that you know where that is, but just so you have a visual. We might also stage at the Woodside Elementary School. All of that information will be in the SMC alert. All right, back to the Portola Valley Town Center and the PV trailers, where we're actually going to have this exercise this time. So our trailers, if you know where the pickleball or tennis fields are, you can go through here, and then where the arrow points is where we have two of our trailers. We have a logistics trailer called the PV trailer, and we have the command post trailer called the ICP trailer, Incident Command Post trailer. When you arrive, because it's not clear who arrives first, whoever arrives first is the incident commander until an IMT assumes that role. Please, when you're the first person there, you take command. And what that means to begin with is that you have a sheet of paper with you at minimum. We will actually give you all sign-in sheets so that whoever arrives first can actually start taking names. But it doesn't have to be a form, an official one. You can just have a clipboard with a piece of paper. So I recommend you put that in your backpack as well. Always a handy idea. And you start taking names. It's very important that you sign in, that you take the name, phone number, and badge number so we know who is in. It is very important that you write legibly. We've had incidents in the past where it's completely impossible to read who actually checked in. So if you are the note taker, the sign-inner, the initial IC, please write legibly and do that until somebody else arrives from the IMT. It is important that, again, reiterating what Mark said before, we do have a hierarchical system of command, the ICS. You report to one supervisor. So if other people come to you, it's going to be hectic. It is not during this exercise, but during an actual activation, it is quite hectic based on past experience. And so it is important that you listen and follow the instructions from one supervisor at a time. And I remind you again of something that Cam always brings up in her classes. We go slow to go fast. Do not rush. It's okay if it takes a few minutes longer. It's important that everybody is safe. 3 things. There is a command post and a staging area, and then we have trailers in case we do it near the trailers, as is the case this time. The command post will have a sign-in table. This is where whoever comes in gets welcomed by a person and gets signed in and then dispatched. And so the sign-in table will be next to the command post trailer this time. And if we do it at the Portola Valley Town Center, then we use the Buckeye Room and the table in front of the Buckeye Room. I hope it's not going to rain or drizzle. If it does, we have the command post trailer has an awning, so we can work away from the rain. The staging area in our case will be a tent that we'll put up. I'll talk about that more in a moment. in case of the Portola Valley Town Center, there's a room adjacent to the command post. That's where people are supposed to collect. So staging is a very important area that's separate from the command post, because the command post is only a few people that are going to talk a lot with each other. And we don't want volunteers, shooting the breeze right in the same room. So we have a staging area. And then for this exercise, the staging area will be under a canopy on the grass. As I said, we have two trailers in Portola Valley. We have a command post trailer and the logistics trailer. The logistics trailer is mirrored in Woodside. We have a Woodside logistics trailer called the WD trailer. All right. Now let's go to setup. If you have any questions, let's put them to the end. Make sure we get to them. I think we'll do fine on time. So this gives you a picture of the area that we're going to be working in. The two trailers here are on the left, the Portola Valley logistics trailer, and on the right, the command post trailer. The area where we're going to do the staging this time is at the bottom right here. It's not super convenient because there's actually a fence there, so we'll have to walk around from the trailer to that area. But that's it. For this time, we'll do it that way, and we'll learn whether that's feasible in future and whether we want to change it. I just point out the thing you probably hear often, somebody saying the sheriff's closet. Well, this is a little corner of the building to the left that we actually have access to, where we have additional resources that we can tap. Also, for the people that don't know, this building has toilets, has a water fountain, and has a power outlet if we need to get power to the trailers, for example. That's just an FYI. All right. So what are we going to do with these trailers? Just as an overview. The person that will arrive from the IMT team first will be self-designate as the incident commander, take over from whoever is there first. They will have the keys to the trailers, and then we'll open up the trailers. We'll open up the ramp at the back of the PV trailer, and we'll open up the side door of the command post trailer. That is on purpose because if we open both ramps, there's a danger that we'll just trip over each other. So because we have to get gear from the PV trailer basically across the back of the ICP trailer to the staging area. All right. It is important that we're safe. I say that having recently fallen over these damn things myself. These ramps have wires, and they're diagonal. And we have foam noodles, green foam noodles, that we always put over those wires. Be very careful because it's going to be dark. And these noodles have to be there because guaranteed somebody will run into them. But even if the noodles are there, be careful. Headlamps and trailer lighting will be available, and make sure that you have those. And the grass may be wet and the ramp may be slippery, so also be careful with that. We want to be safe, and also please don't rush. All right. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to deploy a 10-foot by 20-foot tent that also has they're not really walls, but they're side surfaces. We're going to try that out. Actually, the first time we will actually try it out is this Saturday, but during the exercise, we will deploy it. It's a little tricky. These canopies have multiple people that need to be there at the right place to raise them up. We also want to make sure that we know how to do that with our shoulders so we don't pinch our fingers. That's a danger. And the reason we want to train having the sides on this as well, if it's very windy or rainy, when we do have an activation, we want to make sure that the staging area is somewhat protected. And this canopy actually has the ability to put these on. It's important that we also put weights so that the tent doesn't fly away. We have weights in the trailer, so we will put those around the feet. Then we will get a couple of tables and chairs out. I mean, this is more for testing out, but we're not really setting up a full staging area. But the idea would be that we have tables, chairs, power, whiteboards, and so forth in the staging area. And you can charge your devices there. You can get on the internet. We have lights there. We have task lights. And we have a T-card system we'll talk about some other time. This is not for this time, but basically set up a complete staging area. And as a next step, we will want to make sure that you have internet access from our trailer. And so you can log into a Wi-Fi called CERT guest. This will be at the trailers, it will be from our Starlink. We will also experiment with secondary backup options, but assume CERT guest is the thing you can log into. A small notice here, this is kind of a preview of a larger, longer future monthly meeting about all the things you can do with your mobile devices that can help in a CERT activation. There's a lot actually, but just quickly, I want to point out that since we will have internet, even if the cell service is down, if you want to call people, just regularly voice call people, you can do that over Wi-Fi, over IP, internet basically. But you have to set that up before the cell service goes down because it requires cell service to enable that. So just as an FYI, small thing. By the way, all these slides and YouTube will be available later, so you don't have to write all that stuff down. All right. Oh, we're good on time. ICP teardown. So once we're done, setup is good. I will actually, if that, everybody's okay with that, take notes and make videos and photos so that we can do a lessons learned afterwards. And Mark will be the incident commander for that exercise. When we're done, we will have to put everything back. That also takes a bit of time. And it's important that it's not everybody just leaves because we have to put it all back in the trailer. And it's actually the big tent is big enough that one person can't even do that. So we will need your effort to put it back. If you are not familiar with ratchet straps, which we will use in both trailers, probably a good time to get a lesson from somebody. We can do that this Saturday, or we can do that at the end of the exercise, because these are important tools that we use to make sure that everything is safely stowed in the trailers. Also, of course, check that you take everything along with you, your belongings, your backpack, your badge, and so forth. And who knows what else is very important before you leave?
Oh, Robert, I know.
Mark, yes.
You know, make sure that you take your coffee cups with you and you throw out your trash and
someone
sign out.
There you go. Okay, you've been helped by your official trainer. Sign out. Very important, because in this case, of course, we're all in the same location. But in a real exercise or activation, people will be all over the place. And it is really important to make sure that everybody is accounted for and we don't leave people hanging and we don't know where they are. So it is really important that you don't depend on somebody else to ask you to sign out. You actively go to the clipboard that has the sign-in sheet and sign yourself out. That would be great.
And Robert, I think I have never once had an exercise where everybody has signed out. Not once. So
well, the first for everything.
If we can make this the first, that will be really exciting.
Very good. And then, of course, as you have ideas and comments, or if you make photos yourself, it's also handy. Please email them to me. This is the records at WPV-CERT address. And we will probably have a small team review on lessons learned, but I welcome everybody to contribute ideas, because I'm sure we can improve. All right. I wanted to make sure that all of these meetings are less than 1 hour, and I think we are actually going to do that. So this is the end of this presentation. There's a few things we're not going to do this time. For example, we're not going to run the generators, although that is a useful thing to learn. We're not going to set up a medical area, although that is a useful thing to learn. There's a bunch of other things. These will be part of regular kind of smaller exercises that we do on Saturdays, first Saturdays of the month. And it's, if you want to come, and I'll make sure that Chris and I will coordinate, because Chris runs these Saturdays. There's coffee. there are bagels, there's cream cheese, if you need a little bit of a bribe. And then we will go through some of these subtopics so that everybody knows how to safely stow things in the trailer, how to refuel a generator, and how to start and stop it, and so forth.
Robert,
Yeah.
quick question. So this Saturday, I know the first Saturdays. So what time is it this Saturday? And then it's on the 8th is the actual exercise, correct?
Correct. So this Saturday is just first Saturday trailer day. We're going to clean up the trailers, make sure they're ready for the exercise, 10 to noon.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, I won't be able to make it, but
Okay.
okay, but
Yeah, no worries.
the 8th. Okay.
And you'll
And
be
then-
taking our badges there for us to pick up?
Yes, I will have your badges.
Thank you.
And yeah, actually, I went on a badging jihad and contacted everybody, and there are 6 new badges, all women this time. So come on, men. And there will be a couple more in the pipeline. And of course, Cam has, how many people have signed up for the training, by the way, Cam?
At this point, I think last count was 17,
Excellent.
something like that.
All right.
But we do have room for more, and I did post on the chat a flyer. Feel free to recruit. If there's someone in your neighborhood who really should be a member of CERT, this is a great chance for them to do it. It's going to be a great class.
Very good. So now I will open it up for questions. We're 10 minutes early, so that's good. I haven't actually looked through the chat. Let me just do that. But just chime up if you have questions or comments.
So I think we need a sign up time and sign out time on our sheet, as well as just your name and your badge number and phone number.
That is correct. And by the way, the exercise will be from 5 to 6:30 or something like that on the 8th. Mark, you're muted.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can anybody hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Not sure what happened there. My question is, what happens if we get activated and I can't get down to staging because the roads are blocked?
Go a different route.
So what we want people to do is to understand that we really want everybody to reach staging so that they can be assigned a task and that we can function as a team, properly organized, and having people come and stage and get assigned to teams is really an important thing we want to do. We recognize that some people may not be able to reach it to the staging location because of perhaps blocked roads or other reasons. And if that happens, then we want you to check in via your radio, CERT radio. But what we want to do now is just say, check in, let us know that you are there and that you're trying to come down to staging. And we need you to check in with us, and we need to have you signed in with the command post. And then we will essentially give you an assignment, which is get yourself down to staging. So by doing that, we've established supervision of you for the reasons of disaster service worker coverage. And we know that you're out there and you're coming to staging. And so that will attach your DSW coverage, and you will now be supervised by the command post. That is what we're asking you to do at this point, and we'll have additional information and direction in the future about groups that may be stationed in specific locations around the district and things like that. But for now, we just want you to know that we want everybody to come down to staging. If you can't, use your radio to check in, preferably after the initial busy radio traffic has subsided, and that you've given time for the command post to get established and for radio operator to, be able to take your check-in, and then we'll go from there. So any questions on that?
Yeah, a quick one.
Yep.
Via PV1 or WD1? Is that the channel?
Exactly. PV1 or
Okay.
WP1, they're linked now, but yeah, that's the channel that you would do that on.
Okay.
Vicky had a question, a comment, which is about parking, and I think that's a good point. There is limited parking in the back where the trailers are. I think it's like 4 or 5 cars, something like that, to the left here in this picture of the trailers. It might be a better idea if you arrive to use the parking that is in front of the tennis/pickleball courts and then just walk the short distance over to the trailers, because it'll be easier to get in and out and not to bottleneck. The sheriff often has their cars there too, so it's probably a better idea to park at the tennis courts. Another comment, this is not for our exercise, but for the real activation. There may be people coming by, kind of random people that want to know what's going on or that volunteer to help. This is a whole top. Walk-in volunteers are a whole other topic we will discuss separately at some point. But for now, if you are staffing the sign-in table, you send them away. You send them back towards the tennis courts, away from staging and ICP. We need to make sure that we don't have people walking around and chatting with people back where we have set up. But we will address the topic of basically the public and how we can interact with volunteers and the public in future. Not for this exercise.
Yeah, and I'll just add that we can't demand anybody do anything. We're not law enforcement, but we can politely say thanks for your interest, but this is an event for our community emergency response team members only, and then direct them to perhaps another location. But
anybody else?
You could hand them a CERT brochure.
Yeah, but we're going to be busy. We don't have time to chat with people this time around. And in fact, during an activation, it's even going to be busier. But yes, the person at the, we will have more to say about that, I think, and probably a more organized set of procedures around that. We've had discussions already, but we need to do some more follow-up on that. By the way, the exercise is in the afternoon because in the morning, Chris and I talked about that. In the morning on Saturdays, the kiddies always play soccer. And so it's constantly busy with cars and moms driving in and out and dads supervising and playing and training and all that stuff. So it's too many activities. That's why we're doing it in the afternoon. Hopefully we will not run into activity on the actual grass.
so for the activation alert that'll happen on Saturday afternoon, I will send it probably around 4:30-ish. So there'll be an alert that you'll get. It'll say CERT exercise activation, please stage at Portola Valley Town Center. So you'll get that message and you'll pretend like it's a real activation. You'll grab your CERT backpack, you'll get ready and you'll drive down and you'll sign in and check into staging, get an assignment. So just expect to see that SMC alert come through around 4:30.
And everybody knows where that form is, right? Or should I put the link up? Well, you guys can find it wherever you found the link to the Zoom. Right, 2 paragraphs below that is a link that says, please use this sign-in form, and because we need to give that to Mark to make the group on the SMC alert.
Robert, can I ask a question of Cam?
Go ahead.
Cam, when does the spring CERT training start?
A week from today. And I have put in I put a flyer for it that is in the chat for this Zoom. It's going to be every Tuesday night, 6:30 to 9:30 for 7 or 8 weeks, depending on how things go. And then the full day skills day, as we had the date earlier. What was it? Did we say 29th? Please join us.
It's 29th of March. Well, I've got a guy who just moved in our neighborhood who's had some firefighting training in the military. He might be interested. So
that would be fantastic.
Get the lowdown. So the flyer you say is in the chat.
Yep. And it's also on our webpage now. And something to share with folks is that if they know, oh, I'd love to do this, but I'm going to miss 1 to 3 classes, there's no problem. They can either take the online portion of that class, or it turns out that there are many jurisdictions nearby that are doing their winter classes as well. And so we will find a makeup time. So don't let 1 to 3 classes of missing it prevent someone from taking the class.
And I'll point out that all certs who were previously trained are, I think, welcome to the final exercise. And we can use everybody because we will have more mobile teams. We will have more roles assigned. Maybe you can also play a role of a victim at some point. So there's plenty to do, and it's always good to see in real life radio communications when it gets really busy.
I'd also like to put out there that if you enjoy working in front of a group of people, that we are always looking for people to be coaches and who are interested in becoming instructors. I believe that there is a Train the Trainer class coming up sometime in the next 3 months.
All right.
Cam, sorry, I'm not seeing the flyer link in the chat. Is it on the WPV-CERT webpage?
It should be. I just put it up there, but for lack of anything else, I am going to put the actual link to the sign up directly. And that link, assuming I didn't do any typos. I did a typo. What did I do? Stand by.
WPV-CERT.org has the same flyer, our main webpage.
Okay.
Yes. So if you just go to our main page, and what did I type wrong? That'll do the trick.
Good. We are under our hour. Unless there's anything else, questions or comments that anybody has or announcements, I think we are done for today, and we look forward to seeing you. It was good. We have 17 people here. That's a lot. It's great. And we had actually I think we had a record check-in on our Tuesday night radio check-in tonight. Also like 15 people or something like that. It was very good. We actually are changing the way we're doing that because the check-in that we had at the beginning when we only had 5 people doesn't scale to when we have 3 times as many, but it's a good exercise to train our radio brevity skills. All right. Thanks, everybody, and have a good evening.
Thanks so much, Robert and Mark. You guys did great.
Thank you all. See you guys. Good night.
Night.